Hey there, outdoor YouTubers. Dave Knetter from Knetter's Practical Outdoors. And this video is part 2 of processing a deer. My dad, Don Knetter, is going to go through and show you guys how to do up the front shoulders. And also how to make a few roasts on those front shoulders if you want to. My dad is a career meat cutter through the 80s and 90s. He was cutting anywhere from 200 to 400 deer every year, so he's cut up quite a few deer. So I think he can get you guys pointed in the right direction.
Okay, since we took this deer apart, we started with the front shoulders, so that's what we're going to start processing first. We have 2 of them. I'd like to show you 2 ways to do it. Although my son is going to have all the meat taken off of his because he does prefer the grind. He has a big family and grind goes a long ways. First of all, what we'll do, we have the front shank, which definitely is tough meat. If you want to have a roast, you want everything from here back. So I'm going to go ahead, make a mark. There's kind of a kneecap here. You just missed that kneecap, come around. You got it marked for your shank to come off. I will go ahead and bone it off while it's on while it is still intact to the shoulder, because you got the weight of the shoulder working for you. So all we do is we go in here on the smooth side, take that strip off of there. This is trim that my son will go over later. And if we get over here, you'll see that the bone is exposed. It's kind of a flat bone right there. You can take the meat, flip it off that flat bone, go up over this knee bone a little bit. Then you have a concave part underneath there that you can go around on. Come over to this side. You can get this piece of meat right off of the shank. That will go into the grind. And you can just got a little bit of meat here you can take off the kneecap or whatever you want to call it. Not much there, but every little bit adds up. So now that we have the shank bone cleaned up, we'll take the saw and cut it off and discard it. Now what we have left here is the full shoulder roast. Shoulder bone going into a socket here that attaches to the blade. What we'll do is we'll kind of clean up the loose meat, anything that's bloodshot, remove. We'll take off this meat. This is going to be worked into trim. Go over on this side, there's a little fat in this, but that'll be worked into trim also. Once it is defatted. Now this is a full roast. Like I say, there's a joint in it. If anybody likes roasts, this would fit great in a roasting pan. As is. There's one bone here, but there is quite a blade bone here. So don't think you're going to feed 10 people with it, because there's quite a bit of bone in there. If you're a small family, want to have 2 roasts, right back here in this kind of a fatted area, you'll find that there's a socket. You can go ahead, cut through that socket. You now have 2 roasts. For those of you that think roasts are kind of dry, I'd just like to take a minute here to show you something. The store where I work and many other stores are the same. This is pork butt. It's a real nice cut of meat to add to your venison to kind of lube it up so it isn't so dry when you roast it. And the pork butt just has one very small bone in it. It's easy to take out. If you put the fatty side of your butt down and look, you'll find a piece of bone there and what looks like a 7 bone there. If you just take by this piece of bone and go over to this piece of bone, now you'll see that there's just a flat surface that goes in there a very little ways. You just keep going down it. You can see where it ends right there. Take your knife and score on the back side of it. Then flip it completely over. I like to take and poke a hole through here so I have a little something to hang on to. And then you go in and just use your knife very cautiously. You don't want it to slip off. You go up over this 7 bone here. Come down on the back side of it and go out to where you made that little score mark. And your bone is gone from the pork butt. This is completely boneless. And if you would like, with pork butt, since it is a nice lube, I'm just going to take and cut a nice little slab off of here. This would work very nicely if you tied that onto your shoulder roast with string. Put it in a roaster with no lid on it for about 375 to 400 degrees for maybe a half hour, 40 minutes, till this starts to really start to lube up good, and then you can go ahead and cut it down to like 325, put your lid on the roaster, and just let this cook for a couple hours, and it'll be tender as mother's love. Same thing with this. You can put a piece of, nice piece of pork on it. Like I say, just real quickly to show you what we can do with that, I will go ahead and put a couple strings around it so you have a final product to look at and see if you'd like it that way. You can tie it on any way you want. I use a butcher's knot. Just a regular old tie your knot into a bow or whatever, but use nice white cotton string because you don't want anything that's got nylon in it to be melting on your roast. So don't use your fish line. And here's one nice little roast there. Season it the way you wish. There you are. 2 very nice venison roasts. That will have a lot of natural juices to it with that pork on top. And this one here, we're going to bone out in its entirety. Again, trim up a little bit of stuff that's around the edges so it's not in your way when you're wanting to bone it out. Again, with your steel, you can kind of cut your knife up as you go along. And again, this here, we're going to start boning it out. But this time I'm going to go all the way up with this bone, right into where the socket's going to be. Because you aren't going to ruin anything because it's all going into trim for grind.
As opposed to the last one, which we made a couple roasts out of. All right.
So kept things pretty well intact on that one. So now we're just going to...
And again, these are the front shoulders.
Front shoulders, yep.
All right.
We did one already. This is the last of them right here.
And really, you're just working your way around the bone.
Just working your way right up to this first ball socket up here, which goes right into this area. You can see where it comes apart here. See if there's where it ends, right there. That's the entire shank bone with shoulder bone that leads into the blade bone that is still left here. And this is where I'll show you why that roast, that bigger roast that we put the pork on, is not going to be quite as big as it seems because of the bone structure that's in it. But there's a blade bone in here, and there's kind of a little ridge right here where that blade bone rides up. So you want to get on this side of it, go right down. It flattens out almost like a little tiny canoe paddle. What we're going to do is take the meat off the side of it, and we're going to go over on this side, take the meat off the other side of it. Now this is all boneless meat that will be worked over and leaned up, put into the grind. This is the bone I was telling you about that is actually, that is actually inside this roast. That may seem quite big, but there's not as much edible product there as you think with this bone in there. But you got plenty with the pork and stuff. So I'll just take off what little bit is left on the bottom side of this and throw it into the trim. So that's the story of the two front shoulders. That's two ways of doing it. For those of you that like roast, or those of you that don't.
Remember this, guys. Hunt, fish, laugh, repeat. This is Dave Knetter, along with my dad Don Knetter from Knetter's Practical Outdoors. Hey, thanks for watching and God bless.